Hey everybody, welcome. We're doing a deep dive today. Going to be talking about a career kind of under the radar, but super important. It's called a social work practice educator.
Hmm.
And we're digging into some cool resources from RoleCatcher, that website, helps you prep for job interviews and all that.
Right.
We're going to find out is how this job, this very specific job, it's like a secret ingredient in making the whole field of social work even better.
Totally. You think just teaching, but it's way bigger. These folks are shaping the next wave of social workers, like the whole future.
Okay, so RoleCatcher, they get right to it, laying out what these educators actually do. And honestly, it's a lot. You're teaching, you're mentoring, you're evaluating.
Right.
And in a way, you're kind of the gatekeeper.
See, and that's where it gets really interesting, right? It's more than just book smarts they're teaching. They're watching students in the field, giving them notes, and ultimately they get to say, yeah, this person's ready to be licensed. Big responsibility.
Huge EE. Like their call can make or break someone's career.
Absolutely.
And speaking of serious stuff, this RoleCatcher guide, it gets real about the job itself. Like it's not always sunshine and rainbows, right? They talk about how emotionally tough it can be.
And honestly, that's social work in a nutshell, right? I mean, these are the folks dealing with intense stuff every single day, helping people in tough situations, dealing with complicated systems, seeing firsthand what trauma does. It's heavy.
No kidding. Takes a certain type of person to handle that day after day.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. RoleCatcher, they also highlight how rewarding this educator job can be. Like, you're empowering new social workers, seeing them go out and make a real impact.
Like a ripple effect, right?
It's got to feel amazing.
Totally. It's more than just careers. It's about shaping the heart of social work itself.
Right, right. Okay, now this surprised me. They listed technology advances as part of the work environment. Made me realize even social work has got to keep up with the digital world.
Oh, yeah. Huge EE changes. Think
Yeah.
about it. Telehealth, support groups online,
Ex-
even the software they use for cases. It's all tech now. These educators, they had to prep students for that reality.
Totally. It's like they're training these students to be like tech-savvy helpers.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
Okay, so we figured out these social work practice educators are super important. But what's their own career path look like?
Right.
Luckily, RoleCatcher, they've got us covered. They lay out 4 clear stages.
Yeah, and I like how they do that. It makes it easy to see. You start entry level,
Yeah.
right? Maybe assisting the more experienced educators.
Right.
Getting your feet wet, and then you work your way up, and eventually you're the one shaping the program, even influencing policy.
It's like climbing the ranks, becoming a total social work guru.
Totally.
They even talk about like what you should study, which is interesting. Some are obvious, like social work itself, psychology.
Sure.
But they also mention stuff like human services, counseling, even criminal justice.
Well, that just shows you this field, it's not just one thing. These educators, they need to understand people, the systems, the problems folks face. It's more than textbooks. It's about giving students the tools to work with all kinds of people and all kinds of situations.
Like a Swiss Army knife for social change, right?
Exactly.
And speaking of tools, this guide, it's got this whole list of skills you need to really kill it in this job.
Mm.
Some are no-brainers, like communication, critical thinking, problem solving.
Right, the basics.
But then there are these other skills, more like subtle ones that I thought were super interesting.
Yeah, like what?
Okay, so they mentioned social perceptiveness.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like being able to read between the lines,
Ah, I see.
picking up on what someone's really feeling, even if they're not saying it.
Oh, that's huge, especially in this line of work.
Right, like being a social work detective.
Yeah.
And then they talk about judgment and decision-making.
Well, yeah, because think about it. These educators, they're making judgment calls constantly. Is this student ready? Is this the right feedback? Is this intervention going to work? These aren't just, theoretical decisions. They have real-life consequences.
So true. So it's not just teaching skills. It's about shaping how these future social workers make choices, ethical ones.
Exactly. Ethical and effective.
Okay, before we move on, one more thing. They talk about transferable skills. Basically saying all the stuff you learn as a social work practice educator, it's valuable in other areas of social work, even outside of it.
Oh, for sure. And they give examples too, like supervising other social workers, substance abuse programs, even working with young offenders. It's good to know, like, even if your plans change, what you learn here, it opens doors.
It's like a superpower you can take anywhere. Or like having all those options is super valuable.
Absolutely.
But what's cool? RoleCatcher, they don't just describe the job. They actually give you advice on how to get hired.
Yeah. They even have a whole thing about interview questions.
Like how to nail it, right?
Exactly. Like they'll say, imagine you're in the interview. They ask, why social work practice education? What got you into this? Or tell us about a time you had to give tough feedback to a student. How'd that go? They're really trying to see your passion, how you teach, how you handle those tricky situations.
It's like having a cheat sheet for the interview. What I found really useful was how they even gave example answers,
Yeah.
and tips on how to talk about your own experiences in a way that makes you sound awesome.
Totally. It all comes down to like being prepared, showing them you've got those skills we talked about. Communication, thinking on your feet, connecting with people, handling the tough stuff.
Exactly. So we covered a lot, what they do, the ups and downs, how their career goes, even how to get the job. But like stepping back for a sec,
Yeah,
these social work practice educators, their impact is huge, right?
absolutely. Think about it. They're basically shaping the future of social work, right? These students they're training, those are the folks who are going to be out there making a difference for real people, families, whole communities.
It's not just about the classroom. It's way bigger. It's about making things better, being advocates for change.
Right. And like as the world gets more complicated, the need for good social workers, people who are really dedicated, it's only going to increase.
Totally. Which makes these educators even more important.
Yeah.
They're the ones making sure the next generation of social workers is ready for anything, giving them the knowledge, the skills, and that drive for social justice.
For sure. So yeah, I think we can agree these social work practice educators, they're not just educators.
Mhm.
They're mentors, they're guides, they're like champions for positive change, the whole package.
You're doing it while dealing with all the emotional weight of this work. And D, keeping up with how social work itself is changing.
Definitely not easy. But man, the rewards, right? To shape the future, empower those new social workers, to
Right.
make society fairer, that's huge.
Super rewarding. Well, folks, there you have it. Our deep dive into the world of the social work practice educator. Hope you learned something, got you thinking, maybe even inspired you a little.
Maybe this is your calling, you never know.
Until next time, stay curious, keep asking those questions, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.